You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on this show by the host, its guest, or call ins do not necessarily represent the opinion of this station, the staff, its owners, connoisseur media, or its advertisers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS WTLZ 107.1 FM. I am so glad that you guys have tuned in to be with us on today. I think I want to just kind of talk about some of the things that are very important to the community. There's a lot that has happened and there's a lot going on. So there's a lot for us to talk about. I want to give a shout out to my producer, Matthew, aka White Soul. What's good, Matt?
Hey, what up, though? How are you doing today?
Man, I am good. I am enjoying these last few weeks of our summer. It seems like life is moving by in warp speed. Is it moving by fast for you as well, sir?
Oh yeah. School's just right around the corner. Got to go get my books and everything. It really feels like this summer just flew right by.
So Matthew, what year are you this year?
I'm gonna be a junior.
So you're gonna be a junior. Are you
Yep.
are you ready to be done with school? Because it's gonna happen so fast.
I mean, right now I will say I am, but in the future I probably will be looking back and saying, "Oh man, I wish I was back in college and all that." But I mean, um, I would say that when it comes to school, like, yeah, I'm excited for it to be over, but at the same time, like, I'm a little nervous because, once college is done and then it's time to step into the big adult world and, go get a real big job and, go from there. So,
Well, I wish you well with everything that's going on. And to all of you young people out there who are going back to school, taking kids, I've been doing that, taking kids back to school, making sure kids are okay, saying blessings and prayers as our college students are graduating. It's crazy. Some young people that have been around for the past 4 years, they graduated, they were entering into school, they're freshmen in college school. For those athletes who's already started, shout out to Tella Sears and all of you others that are out there that are embarking upon this new journey. I remember the day so well when I went to Michigan State University, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. That changed me as a person. The opportunity to go to school, and I say with people that what you learn in the classroom is only a part of the real lessons that you learn, the real life lessons. It's on those campuses that I became a man, where we mature, we grow up, we learn to cook for ourselves, we learn to do laundry for real, and do the things that make us that are vital to our existence and being able to do great things. We learn the importance of diversity. We understand cultures, the experience, the immersion experience that takes place every single semester on college campuses around the world are these hotbeds where young people can really truly find what makes them tick and really begin to pursue their dreams. And so shout out to all of those young people who are getting ready to make great things happen. I salute you in advance for all of those graduates from high school that are now entering into their freshman year at college. Such an amazing time. So exciting. You know what this also means? This also means that football is on its way back. And so I'm excited about turtlenecks and sweaters and wool socks. I love socks. Those of you out there, I'm going to give you one of my guilty pleasures. I'm one of those individuals. The thing that I love, and it is a guilty pleasure, is I love new socks. So I keep a pair of new socks always handy. I'm always buying new socks. I wear them a couple of times and I have to get rid of them. I'll give them away, whatever, because I enjoy feeling how that new sock, how it squeezes your foot, the level of comfort, the paddingness that's still there, and so I love these. That's the thing that I love the best. Um, I also just want to say a shout out to everyone, all of those teachers and people who just make it happen over and over and over again, to all of those individuals who are doing the back to school rallies and book bags and supply giveaways. Shout out to all of you that are out there that are making these great things happen in our community. I want to give a shout out to everyone, to you, the community, for really making the Stuff the Bus work and adopt a family for back to school. All of that has been amazing. It is what makes our community great. I was having a conversation with someone who was aware of Saginaw, never lived here, but they had visited with friends and things of that nature. And they said, "Hey, this was just a couple days ago." They're like, "Hey, I was in Saginaw, and I'm going to tell you what I saw taking place, and the conversations that I was having with folks who lived in the community were amazing." I said, "Well, what are you talking about? Saginaw's a great place to live." And they were like, "No, we have never been so optimistic about what Saginaw has the potential to do and to become like we do now. And there's so many great things that are happening in Saginaw." So it made me so happy. I felt like Superman with my chest out to hear people brag about my city. It's funny because, a lot of people talk about all the things that there are not in our community, but one thing that there is not a lack of are people who care, people who make a difference, compassion and love, and those people who really are gassed up about their city. So shout out to everybody out there who loves this wonderful city of Saginaw, and we're only going to get better. It is only up from here. Thoughts and prayers are with the family. I don't have the name of the young man yet. I did get the name. I don't recall it at this moment, but there was a 17-year-old boy that was found with gunshot wounds who later succumbed to those injuries. Uh, Investigators are still trying to figure out what's going on. So in the south end of town, I just thought it was interesting in terms of how that took place. In addition to that, there was also, I believe it was this a couple days ago. By the time this show airs, there was a few days ago a suicide. There's a young man who took his life via suicide, and so people are really hurting. There's a lot that is happening. People are going through all types of traumatic episodes and are having to learn how to deal and cope in a very different world. I want to say this as well. There is an event that is coming forth, and I'm not a person who likes to do promos and all that stuff. But my boy Percy Glover down there in Flint Town, he's a Flintstone. Don't hold it against him. Um, he had an event just a couple of weeks ago in the city of Flint, and he was talking about what do our black boys need. He asked that question. Over 100 people showed up, men and boys showed up for this conversation. There was a panel discussion, and they were talking about the issues that impact young black boys. And this is a space that I have been in forever. I'm absolutely fully committed and devoted to this work of reaching out and encouraging and unleashing the potential of young black minds so that they can go out there and do amazing things. So this event that is happening, what do our black boys need, is going to take place on August the 25th at 5:30. I do not have the location at this moment, but what I will do is I'll get that information and I'll put it on my social media pages. I also send it out in a messenger chat. So I hope you guys get out there. That once again is August 25th. School is still out at 5:30 p.m. Just this amazing conversation about what do our black boys need. And as you know, and I'm sure you've heard up to now, it is voting season. We just had our primary election here in Michigan. This was an opportunity for you to declare and decide who you would like to represent you, both as the next governor of this nation. So now we have Jocelyn Benson, who is the Secretary of State currently. She is getting ready to go against John James for governor. Remember how John James was coming? No one was paying attention to him, and he was not getting much support. So he is still back. He just won the Republican nomination for the governor of the great state of Michigan, which is another indication that if first you don't succeed, try and try again. I also want to make mention there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of feelings in effect for John James, who is, I believe he is a member of the A5A Organization Incorporated. And the organization sent out a thank you acknowledging the work that he was doing and the fact that he is now the candidate, the Republican candidate. And I think that they gave him a shout out saying, "Hey, congratulations, we salute him." And so I thought, hey, this is what you should do. Now, do I like him? No. Am I rocking with him? Not at all. But I do understand the organization's need to support one of their brethren. And so it was interesting. There was a lot of Twitter conversations going on, a lot of Facebook black backlash. But I certainly understand why they would need to give him this opportunity. Many of us in the community thinks that he is not one of us. Kendrick Lamar said, "They not like us. He's not like us." And so it's interesting to see how this is going to play out. I am a firm believer. I met Miss Benson. She was kind. She seemed sincere. Uh, sometimes people, you'll have conversations with them and they allow you, they affirm you in your spirit. That they are solid people and they're going to do what it is that they've been called to do. Well, she is one of those individuals. I never met her up until most recently. I was impressed with what I heard and both with what I saw. She has kept some of those Richard Austin. If y'all know, then you know. Some of those policies that were threatened to go under. She kind of kept some of those things in place. Richard Austin was one of our late greats. And so she has been operating in that capacity and now is going on for the top seat in the great state of Michigan. So I'm excited about her coming in to the fold. Her passion is education, young people, youth engagement. So those are spaces that I really enjoy and thrive in, and have been working in spaces of mentorship for about 26 years. That's why I'm so excited about what Percy Glover, who is a Flint native, is doing here in the city of Saginaw. I guess someone was there. They saw it. We were talking about it in Lansing at the Governor's Council for CBI. It came up there, and he is a brother that supports everybody's everything. And so it's important that we also show support with what he also has going on. So we're going to keep those things. Once again, that's August 25th at 5:30. Check back at a later date for more details. I'm going to see if there's a flyer that I can also post. And we're looking to have some great things happening. To everybody out there, remember 989 Day is going down. So I know that there has been a lot of work and planning that has been taking place. I'm excited about celebrating all of our community, not just the white folks or the black folks, not just the rich folks, but the poor folks, not just the people who have cars, but those who don't have cars. There is a community wide celebration of 989. So it's 989 Day, meaning that everyone that is in the 989 area code, this one is for you. It is a celebration of all things Saginaw, and I'm excited. If you want more information, you can shoot a link to me, send me a direct message, or just give me an email at elitekb23 at gmail. Elitekb23 at gmail. And let's get together so that we can make some great things happen. We're entering into that last quarter of the year, and it is a time when there's a lot going on, end of the year, taxes, and all of those other things. But I want you to know that I'm excited about what is happening and what is going on. And hopefully you will find some level of excitement as well. Like I told you, there is so much going on, voting, voting, voting. I need to make sure that you all understand that the importance and the impact of voting and how important it is for you as a community member, as a resident. It is so important that we take these opportunities and these days by the horn. And as Robin Williams says in Dead Poets Society, I remember him saying, "Carpe diem," that we seize the moment. Carpe diem. All right, so we're gonna get into this conversation, but as we continue, I also want just to make sure that we address really quickly this whole conversation. I know that your cousins know, your play cousins know, everybody, including Boo Boo and Ray Ray. Everyone has heard about this new move by a city authority, along with our second police chief, um, Bob Ruth, about the desire for creating or enacting a policy, if you will, that would allow uh, for law enforcement to have greater control over public spaces where people are gathering, I think over 50 or 60 individuals, or in private spaces as well. given that certain conditions, i.e., the thought that someone may be in danger or in harm, were, that they're creating this policy to allow them to be able to enforce and to break these places up. Now, this is what I want to say about this because there's been a lot of talk and a lot of conversation. People have so much to say, including myself. I have been asked on several occasions, also including a conversation with Justin Engel on how I felt about this particular ordinance. So I want to say this: when I initially took a look at the ordinance, and I began to just kind of read through what it was about. I'm going to be very honest. I was very busy, and so I kind of read it, looked at it, and was like, okay. But then someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think you need to make a statement based upon this. You are our resident community violence intervention person, and so we want to know what your thoughts are." They have not been taken into account. So Carly Hammond, shout out to Carly. She gave me a call and said, "Hey, Kareem, I need to know." Has anyone reached out to you and said anything to you about this? I know there was also Jeffrey was over at CAP that said, "Hey, have you heard anything about this new nuisance ordinance?" And I said I hadn't. No one has said anything to me. I then got a call from Councilman Oshtash, and he was like, "Hey, Kareem, I want to sit down and pick your brain about what's happening in our community and what we can do to make our community safer, starting with dealing with the issue of folks who are packing parking lots all over the county and hanging out in those parking lots and creating havoc on the community." And someone says, "Well, they didn't even do anything. No one got shot." I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about havoc on the resources of our community. So this is my perspective. My perspective is one of I think that some occasions there may be a need for additional law enforcement to come in, as we have seen happen on those occasions. I think on this past time when they were having the Freaknik event, my team was there. Our team was out there. They were doing violence interruption as credible messengers, doing the work. And what we realize, and I think that this is important for the community to understand this as well. We hear a lot of people saying, "Hey, these young people need something to do." We hear these young people say that these young people are just too wild and they're out of control. And we've seen and heard all of these things take place. But what we fail to realize, something very basic, is that you may be the very answer that is needed in order for our communities to be safer. And I hope that uh, you all understand the impact that you have the ability to make when you show up in these spaces. Now, what took place then and what's taking place moving forward is that we have to move forward with some type of legislation that empowers our law enforcement as well as our CBOs, our community-based organizations, to really be able to take control and in partnership together have the ability to make communities safer, but also be quick to respond so that we can understand who the perpetrators are for some of these things. Because let's be very clear, this no snitch code where people are like, "I'm not a snitch, I'm not going to say anything." They are really creating an environment where people who have murdered individuals or have just broken the law have found solace and hiding in those spaces. And so we have a zero tolerance for that kind of thing. And I just want you to know that I am super duper duper excited about being able to effectively carry in my heart this community. And so it's really interesting of what we see going on. So with that, this nuisance order that is at hand is quite interesting. I think, let me say this first, off rip. Before I get into dissecting what is said and what is not said, I want to make sure that I'm very clear that I believe that some type of ordinance or some type of communication, letter, whatever we're going to call it, policy, if you will, is necessary. Being in the community, that's why I was saying this, being in the community on the front line when certain events are happening and it's on social media and we know these things exist and people are expected to be there in mass. um Help CVI, Healing Engagement Love and Presence, our community violence intervention program, we have made the commitment to show up in those spaces, to walk those spaces. We're not policing those stations because we're not policing, but we are being responsible and responsive to the need and the desires of students to be safe in those spaces. When we show up on those scenes and people are impacted, what I've learned is that they're not doctors that are showing up on that scene. Many of these community activists that talk about, no, we shouldn't have a policy change, we need to do something, will be the same ones that are complaining 2 weeks from now about what's going on in that particular space. What I want to say is this: I think that this policy as it stands is a step in the right direction. Now, does it mean that everything about this policy is correct? No, it does not. And I would kind of really move to approve this type of policy because I think that it allows for a student to navigate their own path as an individual, not being lumped into work or to expectations of other individuals. But it really allows the individuals to really focus on what is up and what's next. The next thing that I think is important is that we have to make sure that we understand that when we have law enforcement, 50 law enforcement officers were out there at the Freaknik this past year. 50 officers, probably about 30 some from Saginaw Public Police Department. And then we also had state troopers. We had individuals from the county that were also a part of this because we are only one community. And what happens on the east side of the bridge, if not checked, will happen on the west side of the bridge in your community. So it's important for us to understand the importance of this role and how this role plays a vital piece in what it is that we're going to do, these new ordinances and things of that nature. So I think that it's necessary for us to have something in place. I am not vehemently opposed to the presentation of what it was that was given. However, I think that there is a very nuanced response that needs to be accompanying this type of policy. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be back with more of Straight Talk. So stay, don't go away. We'll be right back. God bless you all, and we'll be right back. Trying to All right, this is Kareem, and we're back with more Straight Talk. We are so glad to have you guys with us today. Today, I just wanted to continue to have a conversation that I think is super duper important. And it's important that as we continue to look at how we move forward as a community, I want to say that we make sure that we are continually getting out to vote. Um, a lot of us have said in times past that we did not want to vote. We didn't want to be a part of it, all those things. But voting is how we make sure that our voices are heard and that what we think is important is essential to the minds and the policies of those that we place in office. There is the election is spoken. Dr. El Sayed, I think that's how you pronounce it. I can never get it. Abdul Sayed is out there and he is doing he's going to be running as one of our state senators, and then Uh, Jocelyn Benson, as I said earlier, will be running. Let's make sure that we get out for governor and support these candidates. Now, those are our state and national officials, but it's important that we are even more so involved in what happens locally. City council has a strong roster of individuals that are running for office. There's been conversations. Oh, we got to overthrow everybody, kick everybody out. I don't think that that's also the answer. I think that we have to have a very strategic plan about putting people in that we have strong faith in. And so I think there are 5 seats that are available. I think 4 of those council individuals are running again. Some of those are the usual suspects that you know, but one of those individuals I want to highlight, Brother Bob Johnson, Bob One Word Johnson. But brother, I am so glad that you are taking this leap of faith and operating, going, even being interested in working as a civil servant and really supporting the community through the ideas and the hard work that you do. I think that it's amazing. I'm super duper excited about what you're doing. All right, so I want to get in because I was having this conversation with a number of folk just about race and how we are seen and what's going on. So much has been happening in the community as it relates to race. I mean, we started this administration out like in hot pursuit of everything that was about Black achievement and Black advancement. From, the hundreds of thousands of African American women who lost their federal employed jobs, positions, to the art that is on display at museums and things around the world. This new attack on the woke agenda, aka code word Black folk, has been relentless. It has essentially gutted the Civil Rights Voting Act and many of our civil rights that we've had and civil liberties and things of that nature have been basically undone. We've seen decades long of King and Shabazz and other individuals who marched for freedom and the rights that we've all expressed. Many of those things being challenged, many of those things being justified with the Supreme Court, who makes it legal for ICE officers and agents to use race, ethnicity, and language to be factors in support of how an individual may be picked up or taken away is crazy. But we see all of these things taking place. The Supreme Court, if you remember the story of Dred Scott or the vote of Dred Scott, the Supreme Court has always been the body that when Black people were making strides, it has always come down to a Supreme Court decision or a vote that has always thrown Black folks back decades, hundreds of years. And I think that it's important that we stay tuned to what's going on in the wonderful world of politics. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening out here. I want to make sure that as we have this conversation, I was talking with some folks who are on another show with me, and I asked the question, how did they feel when people say, I don't see color? I don't see color. I don't care about color. I have a Black friend. Those conversations. How are they impacting us? What do they mean? And what can we do about them? Um, but before we get to all of these things, I think it's important that we take some time to really look at what is going on. As we were having this conversation, we were talking about this idea of Blackness and how we operate in Blackness. And, I had one of them say, hey, I had never before, I don't carry my whiteness around. And I said, oh, you certainly do. You carry your whiteness with you in everyday things because spaces are created for white folks. White spaces are essential and pretty much predominate the landscape of all things that are happening. And I was saying, so when a Black person has a strong affinity and loves talking about his Blackness and sharing his Blackness, why is that so offensive? Because it shouldn't be, right? But it is an indication of pride for myself that I come from a people who have been kicked on, spat upon, just bruised and broken, and yet, like dust, they rise. And so I'm excited about this and everything else that's going on. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be getting into this conversation, talking about historically what is going on with Black America. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, this is Kareem. We're back with more of Straight Talk. We're going to continue because I really want to talk about, you know, the importance of us having a conversation about race. We live in a culture where black folks having an affinity for things that are black is problematic. And so I wanted to have a conversation about, the idea that people say that they don't see color. I want you to see my color. We hear people saying that I don't see color. I see you as equal. That's a lie. We see things through the lenses of our biases. And oftentimes I think that when we make that conversation, we say that we don't see color, what we're actually saying is, I'm not a racist, which is a whole different thing, because the fact of the matter is, we do see color. We understand that black and white are two different things, that white is the absence of color, black is the absorption of color. And so we see color. It's impossible. We were created to give witness to all of the beautiful things: shades of blue, shades of green, shades of black, shades of brown. And so it's important for us to realize the importance of being able to see race. And I want to ask this question: is it possible, as black folks, we are always saying that we want to be recognized, that we want to for people to notice and recognize our blackness. And so I want to ask the question: is it possible to be one of those individuals who completely and fully recognizes their racial makeup and their blackness? Is it possible to be aware of your biases and really provide people with a real opportunity to show who they are and to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character? My personal opinion is that it is not possible. Uh, I think that race is always going to be a factor. I think that people see race more than they're willing to say it. And when people say, I don't see race, what they're truly saying is that they do not uh, want to be considered a racist. And I think that that is an important distinction, because in this country, so much has been uh, afforded the predominant culture. So much that when we talk about being black and we talk about what we like, and I say, "Hey, I'm black and I'm proud," I'm gonna say it out loud. Folks think that that is problematic, but when we look at the fact, and people talk about their history, they want to tell the story about how their ancestors, their great grandfather or great 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 grandfather, came over to this country as a poor immigrant. Maybe he was from Ireland, or he was from Italy, and he was an Italian, and they worked hard and they did all these things. But when black people celebrate their blackness, and we talk about where we come from, our history, or our celebration of history, often makes many white America feel bad. Why? Why is that a thing? Why must white America feel bad when black America celebrates their achievements and their accomplishments and the important story of chattel slavery? I think it's important that we have to realize that everything that happens to African Americans, descendants of slaves in this nation, have to be seen through the lens of chattel slavery. Why? Because black people were not given the opportunity to pursue, to dream, to think, because they were the property of someone else. Can you believe that at one point in time we were actually identified as the property of someone else? And so, as we have these conversations, and people say that race does not matter, I beg to differ, because I think that it does matter. Um, and I need to know that, when does refusing to recognize uh, your race, when has that become or presented a problem, or does it lead to inequality? It's important for us to keep all of these things on record. What do we mean when we talk about race? What do the terms racism, prejudice, bias, privilege, discrimination, and equality mean to our community? Many of us, and it's crazy because we have not rehearsed the story of race and where we have come from as a people in the ears of our young people. So we have many young people, black and brown folk, who have not been a part of the struggle, who have no clue about the struggle, and who often think that the responses that blacks have in this country as it relates to race are problematic, if not racist. Yes, I said it. I was talking with a couple of young black folk, and we were having a conversation, and they were like, "Well, why do you do that?" because if you do that, you're excluding white people, and that is racist against white people. And I think that white people, black people, are more racist than white people. And I could not believe my ears, and so I began to question them and ask them questions that were pertinent to that history, things that were very true about black folks that were never talked about. And so it's important for us to have this conversation because I think that we don't even understand what these terms mean. When we talk about racism, what is racism? Because racism and prejudice are not the same thing. Because most people use those words interchangeably. But when we talk about racism, we're talking about when an individual uses your race, your ethnicity, where you come from, as a tool against you. They use it as a way of silencing you. They use it as a way to stop you from a promotion. So racism is, in essence, you having political power, or just power. It doesn't have to be political power, but you having power or authority that you can use that to usurp your authority over someone's life. And that is what racism is. When we talk about prejudice, we all have prejudices. We sometimes use the word bias and prejudice assigned or interchangeably. And prejudice simply says that I have certain things that I value because I like them or because they are how I was raised. And I have a favoritism or an attraction toward those things. And that's prejudice. Or and I have a prejudice for, but you can also have a prejudice against. So I can say, hey, I love black power. I'm black and proud. I say it out loud. That is I have a prejudice for me, but you can also be prejudiced against, and that means that you look at those biases and how you see or how you provide services are impacted in a negative way when that individual's thoughts and values of who they are or where they came from are not in alignment with who we are as people. All right, so we're looking at that. We looked at prejudice, we looked at racism, we talked about bias a little bit and discrimination. It is a practice that is tied to bigoted understanding. When you do things to prohibit people access, to prohibit people from employment, those types of things are things that are very problematic, but they happen all the time. It's what we call discrimination and equality. And it was interesting because I was having a conversation and they were making the distinction between equality and um, equality and equity. And I was like, well, equality means that everyone gets an opportunity. Equity means that everyone is going to get an opportunity and they're going to get the supports that they need to be able to successfully take advantage of that opportunity. All right. So those terms are very super duper important. And I think that some of these words have become so politically charged that we don't even use the words anymore because we are afraid of how we may be taken, perceived, or the stance that we might be taking in these conversations. But I want to know that as we look at this, why do we as a community, I don't want to say why do we, I want to ask the question, do we as a community have stereotypes and thoughts that we evoke against other members of our own community? I'm going to let that marinate for a second. Are we prejudiced? Do we have biases and issues with folks in our own community? And if so, how did we get them? What are they are, and then how did we get them? And I think that colonialism has done a real number on us because I feel that many of us as black men and women, we take on what the predominant culture, what the colonizers, the colonialists have said about us, that we're lazy, that we are innately evil, that we're innately um, hard to get along with. Uh, Part of that culture or the narrative for black women is that they are strong and angry. And I really hate that when they say that black women are strong and angry. The fact of the matter is some of them are strong and some of them have a right to be angry when we look at the things that they've been responsible and made to be responsible for and deal with by themselves. My heart always goes out to single parent moms. Single parent moms are the backbone of the community. They are what I would say the MVPs of child support or parental support of children. And so I always want to make sure that we are not being biased against them. So as we look at those terms and we look at how our communities become so politically inclined, but politically, I shouldn't say inclined, but politically divided is a better word. We look at the situation with Nolan Wales. Crazy. And I just want to be honest. So when we have this conversation, we talk about Nolan Wales, and since we're talking about these issues of race and prejudice, and many white Americans struggle to even understand or believe that the United States is a racist place. I talk with so many of my friends who say, you know what, Kareem, I'm sure there's a couple, bad actors or bad apples. We hear that often all the time in so many ways. I'm sure there are some bad actors, but for the most part, we're all good. And then it's hard for them to think that in certain situations that black people may be treated very differently in the same situation, dealing with a very similar issue in we get different types of justice. And so we say that justice is blind, but for many African Americans, we often feel as though justice is not blind, but justice can see very well. And it does not perform equally based upon who you are as an individual. And so I think that it's important that as we have that conversation, that we make sure that we talk about these issues. I was getting to the point about Nolan Wales and the important conversations that Black America must have with its children. Um, I knew growing up as a kid, I remember my family, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins. We spent so much time together. We didn't need anybody else. Like we were our own best friends and things of that nature. But by the time we got, I attended Carleton High School, and I went to Carleton High School off my grandparents' address. I've always been lived in the city of Saginaw. But when we began to look at this, and I remember friends asked me, "Hey, go up north," because in certain times of the year, deer hunting season coming up in October of this fall. Then you also have another hunting season in the spring. But when Memorial Day comes, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, white America and their Great White Flight, they get on the highway going 75 north, and they're going to colleges and cabins and hotels and mud bogging and jeep drives and to beaches and lakes all over the country, all over the state. And so many times I've had friends be like, "Hey, Bowen, you should come. You should go with us." I'm like, "No, I'm good." And I would get home and have conversations, be like, "Hey, you know what? They asked me to go here." And my family's like, "Was you gonna be the only black boy going?" And it's crazy because white America struggles to understand that these are things that actually happen in our community. That is a real conversation. Can I go? Are you? Who else is going? Is Choya going? Is Reggie going? Is Skip going? Is Ante going? Because if there's not someone else going, no, you can't go. One of the things, and I'm going to say this, and this is a very honest thing, is that there was a real fear of black boys being in spaces, all white spaces, especially those that surround boats and water. Typically there's a joke, that black folks can't swim. That's funny because at one point I was a licensed lifeguard, a great swimmer. My brothers all can swim and are great swimmers, but that was a narrative that was painted, and to some truth, to some degree, it is true. And it's more not about the ability to swim, but it's about access to swimming pools. Awareness barriers are some of the biggest problems that we find in our community. And what's an awareness barrier? Awareness gap. It's when we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't have. It's hard for us to consider and conceptualize putting together trainings and things of understanding when you don't know everything. Black folks have historically not been able to. They didn't have swimming pools. Heck, for a long time we were red line, not able to have a house. But where there is no swimming pool, then you have to understand that there's more of a propensity for you to drown. We're going to come back on next week and we're going to have a panel of guys and girls in here talking about the issues that are affecting America. We are moving toward politics, and politics is moving towards race. Stick, stay, don't go away. We'll see you again next week at the same bat channel right here with more Straight Talk.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on this show by the host, its guest, or call ins do not necessarily represent the opinion of this station, the staff, its owners, connoisseur media, or its advertisers.